I'm Bryan Tony, and I'll be your host on today's episode of the Jobs at Night podcast, presented by 24 Hour Dallas. For those who aren't familiar with 24 Hour Dallas, we are a nonprofit whose mission is to make Dallas safer, more inclusive, and more vibrant at night through projects such as our Copper Star certification program that recognizes outstanding nighttime businesses, our annual Women Unite around International Women's Day that promotes the safety of female identifying individuals at night, and quarterly meetings and trainings with the City of Dallas and other nonprofit partners throughout the city. Through this podcast series, we uplift what we call every voice. We want to make sure that those who work in our diverse nighttime workforce are recognized, they drive our economy, and discuss the challenges and opportunities that they all face and we face as consumers to grow that in Dallas. And we hope to showcase those narratives through this series. We have 3 great guests for you today, and they all have a close-knit relationship already, which makes this an easier episode for me to moderate, and look forward to shining the light on you all, some of our most prominent entertainers in Dallas. And hopefully through today's conversation, you can watch on 24 Hour Dallas' social media and YouTube channels and check out their music and make sure you support them beyond today. Please go follow and subscribe at 24 Hour Dallas. Y'all ready to kick things off?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we've got a great lineup today. First, we have Sylvia Garcia to my right from Sabor Puro.
Yes. Hello.
Desi 5 to my left. And Wulf across from me.
What's up?
So thank you to our audience for tuning in and our guests. I'm going to have you all start with each of your journeys. If you could please begin. I know you'll all have some new music coming out. What first drew you to music? I'll start with you, Sylvia. And how has your perspective and experience evolved since beginning?
All right. So I feel like a lot of people who are in the industry have started their journey, whether it's performing for their families or picking up a guitar or starting to write their personal feelings as they're growing up. And my journey was not different. Was pushed by my family to give performances of Selena's Chat when we had family around. I got into the choir in middle school and got pushed by my choir director to go to Booker T. Washington High School performing of visual arts.
Awesome.
And I made it in there and felt like a really tiny fish in a super huge pond where I didn't know exactly where my life was going to take me in the music world. It took a lot of time to think through what careers I wanted to go into, because sometimes you think that you're not the best performer or you don't have the best voice. There's people out there who are better than you. And so there definitely was a lot of self-doubt, a lot of rethinking where I should take my life, and education pretty much just fell in my lap. And
Great.
I realized that I do enjoy teaching and also love to sing and perform and make music. And I came with the idea of putting those 2 concepts together and becoming a music teacher. And when I went to UNT, my whole time there, I thought I was going to be a middle school choir director because Mr. Fikes was the person who impacted me in that world
From
the
Booker
most.
T?
No, actually
Or
from middle school. Yeah,
Wow.
Marsh Middle School. So Mr. Fikes, since he pushed me to go to Booker T and experience what your life can be immersed in the arts and immersed in honing your skill, I wanted to give back to the community and give that to my students in the future, and then realized that performing was actually my real passion. And I took 2 years off after graduating UNT, and I started Sabor Puro and saw that there was a need in Dallas to pay Latin musicians what they are deserving of getting. And after being in a cover band that didn't pay musicians the amount of money that they deserve to get paid, I took it upon myself to create a band that would give the musicians the amount of money that they deserved and actually help them survive as musicians, because we have that connotation of the surviving or the hungry musician, and that whole idea of, oh, you can't make it in the music industry unless you go viral. And I have now seen that you can definitely be a sustainable artist and be able to make a living as a full-time artist here in Dallas, and being able to pay my people the amount of money that I'm able to through these gigs and through advocating for ourselves and advocating for musicians and being a very open band, I think that my perspective definitely has shifted in the way of this is bigger than me. It's bigger than, oh, I'm a small fish in a big pond. No, I am doing my passion through, and whenever you believe in yourself and you believe in a cause, everything is possible. So I am currently in that era of believing in this project so much that it's already ours, believing that Dallas is that hub to promote artists and artists.
Homegrown talent.
Yeah, homegrown talent. And it's super proud to be from Dallas for sure. And yeah, that's a little bit of my journey, a little bit of everything, and definitely keep education close to my heart while I am performing on stage, because I think that it's important to educate people on what you are doing on stage, whether it's who you are or the genre of music that you're performing. Because I know, Bryan, you were like, or was it you, Deb? It was you. You were like, oh, I'm not really that familiar with cumbia. And I hear that a lot. I hear that everywhere I go.
We're trying to get better.
Well, you know I am.
Oh, baby, I know.
You're teaching us right now.
Yeah. So I'll leave it there because I know there's a lot more to discuss. So
Awesome.
Right
that's all about me.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me, I was a church kid growing up, and I started. That's where everything started for me. My family on my mother's side comes from Southern Gospel, and I think it just carried on into my household. And I think when I was 12 years old, the first time being on stage, the worship leader was like, my mom sang for the team, and he's like, she could sing. You must have rhythm. Here's a tambourine. Show up next Sunday for practice. And then 12 years old, just shaking the crap out of a tambourine, bruises on my hand and everything. But I've always wanted to be in music. My whole family has been. One of my cousins, who's like a brother to me, was in a grunge band back in the 90s too. So that kind of that influenced a lot of me wanting to be a front man. But the long story short of that is I was a worship leader for 20 years. Veteran of that. I guess you could say I officially retired my 20 year in 2018 and really started pursuing playing more rock and roll and kind of the music that I relate to, lyrics that I more closely align with after all of that. And yeah, 2019 is really when I got involved with the Dallas music scene, like officially, when I started like finding myself in the fold and really picked up from there. Yeah. But yeah, lifetime of music playing. That's what that is.
And you got it from your mama, or?
I got it from my mama. Yeah. My dad was a piano player and a songwriter. My mother sang, and they used to do their own traveling from like city to city, like trying to make money as traveling evangelists, until I showed up and realized that no, you need to get a job because playing from church to church doesn't really pay a lot. So you have to.
It can though.
It can. Nowadays, I think it's more profitable, respectfully saying, but
you all are both in or around music in an education setting with choir and being a teacher, and then yourself in church. In this case,
growing up church, yeah. What about you?
I hated music. No, just kidding. No, the true introduction, and I'm going to make this as quickly as possible.
I know it's hard.
I know.
It's a life story.
I was literally trying, I'm going to condense this. If I'm really going to do this, my grandfather, when I was a kid, I had to live with my grandparents. Long story for that. But my grandfather gave me this book. It was a Lady and the Tramp book. And on the end of the Lady and the Tramp book, there was a piano. And so when you would read the book, you could hit these like different tones and the songs would play. After doing that so much, I started making my own little sounds. And my grandfather was like, I think this kid can play the piano. Or, you know. And so he told my grandmother to put me in piano lessons. I would say that's my first introduction to music. But as far as becoming a performer, my cousin played basketball, and I used to dance with the mascot. And I'll never forget dancing with the mascot, and everybody was cheering for me. And I was like, I want to feel like this forever. Everybody's clapping for me. But then, of course, ever the young adolescent, young black, African-American, gay young male that I was afraid to express that. I was afraid that I would get clocked. So it took a minute for me to, now I was always musical, but to express myself as a frontman or as a singer, it took me a minute to express that. And once I did, the sky was the limit. It took me like 26. Badu was like a big inspiration for me to just be awkward, weird. And I was trying my best to stray away from like traditional R&B. So I watched Almost Famous for the first time. I was bored and I just happened to see those records that his sister left him, and I was like, I'm going to buy each and every one of those records, and I was introduced to rock and roll.
Okay.
And that's when I wanted to be a front man and actually perform. Tina Turner, watching What's Love Got to Do With It, and Mick Jagger and all that stuff. Like, that's what, I'm like, okay, now this is what I see myself. If this Shaka Khan came in, yeah. And then I started in the Dallas music scene in 2014, almost 10 years ago, actually 10 years ago. And I did everything that I could to be seen. I've crucified myself. I created sacrilegious. I did whatever it took to be the pop star that I wanted to be, and here I am now. You know?
That's amazing. Yeah, incredible journey. Now that we've both talked about your internal experiences, your life experience, let's think about the external, the venues that you all perform in, and what that relationship looks like for our performing and artists, entertainers. Y'all are curators. You want to vibe in your audience, or you might have one that you cultivate yourself. What goes into that for you from a venue standpoint and the atmosphere? What are things that you look for, and how do you work both within the venue and also bring yourselves and your true self, like you were saying, Desi, into that venue?
Some venues are easier to work than others.
Because
Just putting it out there.
Amen.
Oh, it is. It's true. It's true. We all knocking on doors.
It's a multiple of factors, really, that goes into it. But I think the one that I want to focus on is the audience interaction. For me, it's important to be open with the audience and immediately introduce myself even before starting the program, the show. Before even singing a single note, I'm going to go up to your table and say, hey guys, my name is Paola, and I'm the singer of the band. We're a cumbia band, and we're so much fun, and you want to stay, please get another drink, blah, 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 and just start that rapport.
I believe you've done that to me before I even knew who you were.
Yes.
personal testament.
Yes, personal testament. And you can testify that it really does bring that sense of, oh, wait, I do matter in this performance. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, my energy is going to determine how lit this is going to get. Because me as one person can only do so much with my energy.
Sure.
And I have so much energy to give, but if I give it all, I'm not going to have any more left to give by the time we're done. And most of the time we're performing 3 hours with 30-minute break sets. That's 3 hours of singing full on, 3 hours of dancing, 3 hours of connecting with people. So that's a lot.
That's a whole grind.
It's a whole grind. It's a whole job. And it makes it a lot easier. And I was talking to my therapist. I was like, I think I go out into the audience because it's like a comfort for me. Because I am able to connect with people on that humanistic level, because I think that people who don't or aren't musical or don't sing, they tend to put us up on a pedestal and they tend to worship that talent. And for me, it's not uncomfortable to be up there in that spotlight, but it is uncomfortable to not reciprocate that admiration. And I love reciprocating that admiration with the fans, with the audience. And for me, Revelers Hall is one of those venues that exemplifies that connection and ebb and flow of the audience and the performer together, and being able to just like, hey, I see you down in the street, come on in, let's have a good time.
The band's on the level. There's no stage.
There's no stage, and to me, that's the most comfortable platform to perform in.
And you could tear it up at Revelers Hall, too. Everyone's there. Everyone's ready to go.
Walking through, you're going to have a crowd. So if you're good, if you're good, you're going to have a crowd at Revelers. I would say venue-wise, there's only so many venues we could perform in Dallas. I believe there should be more. I notice there are a lot of venues that have stages that don't utilize them, but they don't have the budgets.
Okay.
So I know that's one thing that would be great if we could have more places to play at, but then we tend to get excited for new places. Yeah. So if there's like a new place and all of us are like, ooh.
Like Double
D's.
We
got, Double D's, or even when we, the little Wrigley 10 moment.
Right.
It's like, it's somewhere new to play, but it just feels good to play somewhere new. You want a place that has good venue, atmosphere is dope, the bartenders are nice, there's a good sound tech. Sure. Sometimes it might not always be the best sound, but sometimes it's just all about the spirit of the venue. And that's what I look for as a performer. hate playing places where I'm not really wanted or I feel
Do you
disrespected.
scope them out beforehand? Do you
Either
go
I
and-
scope them out beforehand, or we talk to whoever else, who's all out there. Don't play here. They're like this. Even sometimes I still take the challenge and go to places like, and that's just what we do. It's just part of the hustle. But it's just a good atmosphere, good food, good attraction. The people are there. We're gonna bring people. Y'all are. It's a joint thing, and sometimes I'm gonna try to make this quickly. But sometimes venues and artists, we tend to still work on separate
Right.
lanes where we're like literally trying to do the same thing.
Yeah,
Bring
say,
people in.
When we make money, y'all make money.
Yes.
When y'all make money,
We
we
make
make
money,
money.
so-
So can we be a symbiotic relationship out here?
Can we break bar this evening for that extra $20? Oh, you broke bar. Here's an extra 20. Yeah.
There you go.
For me, it was always like it's a mix of both. I think, for me as an artist, like I do the 3 hours. I grind. I'll do it solo and I'll do it with a band. And those are always great. We play once a month at Twilight Lounge and hoping to pick that back up. We've been a little inconsistent, but we're hoping to get back in. We like to play
The
the
deep
full
element's
moon.
tough.
And
On Friday.
yeah, we'll get into that. I saw a question.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm ready. Let me at this answer. But there's a lot of great venues that we do want to play at, and I think what we hunger for isn't so much as the next place to play, as much as it is as a way to display our artistry. These grind gigs are really great. They feed us. They pay our bills. We help pay for the band. But we have to do a lot of cover fills. We play a lot of cover songs with our original material. Not every band has 3 hours worth of work. It's just, not everyone's been around that long to be able to write 3 hours worth of work. And so being able to find more venues that allow more of a bill rather than here's your grind.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where lately I've been personally is like last year. I think we ended up grinding the band down to bare bones just because we ended up getting burned out because all we did were 3 hour gigs and we did the outdoor gigs. We became almost a party band at one point just because people kept calling us because of our energy level. But man, we were tired.
Yeah.
And there are times where you'll play the venue because it's going to pay, and I will always take the venue because that's how I make my bread. But there's something about the people that are there because sometimes you'll play a 3 hour gig and not a single soul will even acknowledge your existence. You're just background noise. And that comes with the territory that comes with the game. If it's just like a lounge bar or a restaurant, that's gonna have to be the way that it is. That's why I love Twilight so much, is because people are gonna get in there and start dancing. For me as an artist, it's always been a conflict for me because when it comes to the people, being a worship leader for 20 years, part of the skill set of being a worship leader is you have a congregation and you're supposed to not only be the thermostat of the room, but you're also supposed to read the temperature of the room.
Yeah,
you're supposed to
thermometer,
understand
too. Yeah.
and help people ebb and flow. It's really, there is such a beautiful artistry that comes with leading worship. And even though I don't necessarily subscribe to those ideologies and such, there is something to be said about the skill set that comes with learning how to do that. So
I used
for
to
me-
lead praise and worship
Yeah.
for 6 years.
You did? No way.
I did.
We're going to have to talk about this.
That was before
Did you lead or did you were just,
No, I led.
you led?
I led and I directed
you
the
know
choir.
Sunday every Wednesday night. Or?
3
I would be
services a
hungover from the
Sunday?
night before, and I used to always be like, "I'm not worthy to be up here singing to you guys, but here you go." And I would call them performances instead of like my grandmother said, "You're singing for the Lord," but I'm like, "I'm finna go perform." Like, no, you're not performing. It was a performance for me.
There's been
It was.
Well, here's the thing. I think oh man, don't get me started on this. Is way off topic and we don't have time. But that's part of the thing too, is because there is a performance aspect. That's part of the job.
Yeah.
That's part of the job.
Yeah.
And that's what made me go, man,
spiritual,
I could do this. I could do this better outside of church because then I'm not being judged for being performative because you have to be. Right? But don't get me started on that. Whoa, this is a family show. I'll start cussing. But to get back to the point I wanted to make was I like to read the room. I like to be the thermostat and read the temperature, and I like to see if I can get people to go. So whenever I sing solo and you give me a room that's got lots of space and lots of reverb, then I'm going to take you on this whimsical high falsetto type of thing. And then if it's dirty, grimy, and I got a band backing me, we're going to get sweaty. We're going to get rock and roll. We're going to get probably hammered,
Sure.
and just have a good time. But
Celebrity
read the
party.
room and take everybody with us when we do it.
No freak party.
Yeah, we're
Freak offs.
Yeah. Us as artists and bands, we're just the vehicle to take you to the next place. And the caveat to all this I'm saying is I believe music is a very spiritual practice in general. So you're going to hear me reflect on that. But yeah, that's my answer to it.
Awesome. I think y'all started to get into some of the more challenging parts of nightlife, the venues, but you mentioned an entertainment area. What are other challenging aspects of the nightlife that people don't think about as performers?
The parking.
That's one.
Sorry. Desi, go
Unloading
ahead.
and loading.
I just,
Yeah, I mean, you got.
That's a good one. That's a
Great
good one.
yeah.
I will say, back to the hand in hand with venue and artists, when they, especially if it's a venue that asks for you, or it's the pay.
the pay. God bless
As
it.
a headliner.
Our period. When we do city things, we know we're going to get paid well. But now with our regular venues, we do that because we're doing it for the exposure and we love our artistry. But there's not enough pay. And I know a lot of us should be cap artists where we can get paid for that and this is that and the other, whatever. But the realistic part about it is it's a pay thing. If I'm going to deliver Desi 5 to the fullest, I'm going to need at least $1,250, at least. But then if you give me 500, then I'm probably going to put together a rhythm section or a drummer and a bass and a track, because it's like these people have to make money. I've done this for so long where my musicians played for free for me for years. And it's just at the point where it's no more. Or those times where I would pay everybody and then I wouldn't get paid. And I feel like it's just, I know that this is the struggle of a musician, and I know this is interact or to let everybody know what the true struggle is. It is the pay. So if you do, when I see people see drag queens, nothing against drag queens, I love them to death. But the moment that they lip sync a song, they immediately pull out dollars and give it to them. I think they should translate that to us as well. You know, tip us more, or just so that we can pay our musicians and pay some gas. We're not asking for much.
Yeah.
But we don't want to sound like beggars either, but
Yeah. No, and to piggy off on that, I think it's really important to have a contract system in place as artists, and having that open dialogue with the venues that you are playing at. I think that there is a level of, oh, yeah, I've been here, you've seen my traction, and then, okay, it's been a lot of time that we've been here, and you guys see that we bring y'all people and y'all make money, we deserve a raise. And then having that conversation, and if they're not able to compromise and give you the amount of money that you're asking for, then that's your sign, like maybe not work with them anymore. And I think that I had to learn that not only being a female in the industry very early on, but just a musician in general, they can rip you off. They can literally say, yeah, come play for me, and then not pay you. And there is no consequence half the time. But if you have a document that says that you asked for this amount of money and they paid for it, or they signed it and you signed it, they are liable to pay you. And they're going to have to pay you because any form of identification, and a lot of people don't know this, but in Texas, even a text message that says, will you pay me this amount of money for this amount of time? And if they confirm through a text message, you can take that to court and say, they owe me this amount of money. They have to pay me.
Yeah.
And
Have it in writing somehow.
and you have it. You have to have it in writing at some point, and then you can create that relationship of trust and communication. And whenever your quality of work is to the standard that demands more money, you definitely can, because people see it in the pudding, and there's no way of going past, oh, I can't do this anymore for $800.
Yeah. How
Period.
common is tip share with performing artists and bands?
What do you mean? Do we
With
share?
the bar, or is it a pre-arranged agreement just for our audience members and who might not know how you're compensated?
Generally, the venue comes with a guarantee. And then you just, if you ask for tips as well, you just bring your own bucket. But it's all the musicians at the end of the night. It all goes to you. And then
Sometimes
whatever
I
you
just give
tip
my
the
tips to the
bartender because
musicians.
you ran up the bill
Yeah.
and you ran out of your hospitality tab. You're like, oh, we're at $200 on the beers? Who
Here's
drank
the
all the
tips.
Yinglings? Why do we? But it's, but yeah, the money always goes to us. The interesting thing, though, is it's really the location and what they're expecting out of the venue. Like, I played Deep Ellum a lot. And Deep Ellum, the guarantee is what it is. It gets tough to negotiate what your worth is as a musician. It's already tough to negotiate within yourself subjectively what you should charge for something that you love doing for free. Sure. So there's that. But when it comes to Deep Ellum, I mean, it's such a hub for musicians, but it's really difficult to get anything more than what they're able to give. And it's not because they don't want to, it's because they just don't. There's no real overhead that they can really provide, so they do what they can. And some venues pay more than others.
And what happens is we end up with, which is nothing wrong with this, but with more DJs.
I got opinions about DJs, but
no, I'm just saying it's what happens.
That's a separate podcast. No, I appreciate the DJs. They're crushing
6
it.
months ago.
Let me make sure I backtrack before this turns into a soundbite for later. No,
hey, I'm a DJ too.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, they're not so bad.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is, if you really want to make at least from my perspective, if you really want to go and make more than what you get paid in Deep Ellum or any other dive bar, if you will, you go north, you go to the burbs. But then at that point, you start competing against like actual tribute cover bands, which is tough because a lot of venues in North Dallas, people aren't really looking for original music. They're looking for songs that they know, songs they sing to, songs that are familiar. And there's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't. There's a definite market for those types of things. But when you are an original music, like you're an artist that makes original content, it gets real tough to be convincing enough to say, oh yeah, come on through, and not play Neon Moon like 10 times in the night. There's some variation of it. But anyway, yeah.
That was a great discussion about pay. Absolutely, knowing your worth is hugely important.
Yeah,
Tips
definitely.
like writing it down. It's little things.
Little things that you don't think about
Can
sometimes.
go a long way.
Just don't ask us about taxes.
It's tax season first.
I'm going to plead the fifth on
One
all
more
of that.
Next subject.
Well, it's just another broad pretend. I've never met you all before, but for those watching, how many hours are you typically putting into your craft in any given week just to get ready for your performance? What's that?
We are terrible at practicing at our craft. It's obnoxious. I speak for myself. I don't know. I'm getting some nods.
Or perform or spend preparing.
Yeah, I guess it depends. Does he?
I'm trying to really think about it because it does take work outside of the performance,
Yeah.
the social media aspect, the administrative aspect.
That's true. Are we talking about practicing the
all of
music,
it.
or are we
I
just
think the
talking
whole
about
thing.
the prep?
The total.
It's a full-time,
Okay.
is it a full-time job for
It's a
you?
full-
It's a full-time job. Like 12
Full-time.
o'clock
When you decide
Eastern
to clock
Standard
in.
Time is I need to post something by Eastern
Right.
Standard 12 o'clock.
Lord.
But and then I'm foreshadowing, but I have a new record coming out. I spent a lot of money and time on the record, so I'm constantly every day sending out press releases and emailing different things. And so that's a part of it. And then getting musicians together. I work as a working musician, as a wedding singer. I also am a lounge singer. I am also a DJ, and then my artistry comes. I have all of those at the top to supplement my livelihood, my day-to-day basis. But my artistry, of course, is not really making me any money, but it's my fulfillment. And I put a lot of time into that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say maybe I put in a good 30 to 40 hours a week. Rehearsals and putting band members together, calling this person can't make it, you can't do that. It's a job.
It is a whole full-time
Yeah.
job. Like I mentioned before, I come from education, and I was a teacher, elementary music teacher for 5 years, and I did Sabor Puro and taught full-time for 5 years.
Grading papers. And
Yeah,
writing music.
exactly. And writing music, and actually not having the energy to write music because I was drained from a whole day of teaching, and finally decided that it was time to put my full-time energy on this craft and actually putting an album out there and putting a single out, also having to do all of the PR and administrative things. And one of my friends asked me, he was like, yeah, so now that you're a full-time artist, do you think about how you used to manage it while you were a teacher? And I was like, yeah, it was mediocre at best. But now that I have the full time to focus on Sabor Puro, like you said, you are really having no days off, you are contacting people nonstop, emailing. Like, I have a whole little schedule. I set myself up for success because, again, my teacher brain was like, girl, you don't do well without any schedules. You don't do well without routines. Like, you need to have something in place in order for you to be successful and accomplish the goals that you have in mind. And so I have a whole little routine of like, I am going to wake up at this time. If I don't do my yoga in the morning, I already know I'm not going to do it at all because there's just way too much stuff going on. So it's, no, I really have to be intentional with my time. It takes a lot of discipline, and it's really challenging some days. And also give yourself grace. But I'm on the same boat. Like, I literally have 0 days off. Like, this is still part of the job.
Yeah.
You know, having these conversations, advocating for musicians, advocating for yourself, promoting yourself. All of that is part of the job. And yeah, there's 24 hours in a day, and I think I work most of those hours.
And you did a great job during the fair promoting.
Thank
you. You did a great campaign this past year. You stepped it up, honey. Yeah.
Tell me to jump, and I'll ask you how high. Let's go. You know?
I appreciate the discipline. I'm not that good at.
It took me practice. It took me
Every
practice.
week's different too.
I wait till
sometimes.
the last minute before I go, oh, I
So
need a
what
bass
season or what
player.
month
Oh,
are you?
no. I've done that a few times. Or, oh, I had to promote this? That's
Oh, y'all
me.
don't have a flyer for
Y'all
me
don't
to
have flyers?
post? Oh,
Ah.
okay. I have to make the flyer. Okay, bet.
I let Elliot over at Twilight Lounge will hit me up. He's like, hey, you got a flyer for this week? I'm like, there's a show this week? So to give you some, I kid, but I have ADHD pretty bad. And so I have to maintain that. And so you'll generally see me like, oh, he's not promoting anything, and he's got shows, or I'll just get a wild hair and just start blasting everybody like, hey, everyone.
We're still here.
And then I'll dip for a couple of months. I'll clock out. You
I
know?
want to dip so bad.
Oh, man.
Dude,
I mean, I love it, but you know what I'm saying?
It's a love-hate relationship with social media. Like, for real.
See, yeah, I get so sick of posting. There are times where I will you'll see me on stories just re-sharing dank memes and things of that nature and not really saying much else. During the day, I'm a web designer, and so I spend a lot of time doing that. And then I'd say that on the other half of that, I'm gigging regularly as a way of paying my bills. I'd like to get to a place where I'm evaluating on how it is that I want to do that, because it is a full-time job and I need to make space for that. But grinding does wear you down after a while. And so you have to, for me, I have to think about, all right, do I want the grind or do I want the artistry? And if I want the artistry, then I have to supplement it somehow. So for me, it is a matter of, man, I'm okay working these hours as a designer. I still do what I love because I'm still working in art. I'm in visual art now, which is one of my loves next to music. And I'm like, man, I'll decide to want health insurance. To be real with you, I want some health insurance. So
Oh,
Shoot,
yes.
I had
get
I had a
paying job
scare.
that funds the art.
Obamacare.
No, I had a little scare, and I started with the Obamacare, but I was tired of waiting in line for stuff. So I just went on and I got rid of some subscriptions, and I went on and got Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I'm paying pretty much like $60 a month. But I have insurance, but I know that everybody else can't.
Yep.
But I purposely made that it's almost like buying weed. It's a necessity. I was like, but I get it. Not everybody can do that, but I made sacrifices to have it because I had a little health scare about a couple of years ago, and I have to take medication. I need to see a doctor. I need to make sure that. So when I realized I needed insurance, when I had to wait at like places and they like, we can see you in 6 months. I'm like, 6 months? I'm dying. So I get it. And that's something we'll talk about later on in the conversation.
Yeah, no, and it goes back to the artistry. And if you're not healthy, you're not going to be able to do this for a long time. And I'm always trying to be conscious with what I consume, not only like food-wise, but also like media-wise. So like social media, that's why for me, it's a love-hate relationship because I can get stuck in the doom scrolling. And that can be really toxic for your mental health.
I could have did that. I should have did that.
Right,
I could have did that. I should have did that.
Oh, yes,
Hours of
exactly.
screen time,
Exactly. And so, yeah, you have to be really mindful about what you consume and how you take care of yourself in order to be able to do this for a really long time. And also surround yourself with people who will keep you accountable. Because, like, for me, one of our newly found fans, he, like, I'll post something the day of, and he'll literally respond like, bro, I didn't know soon enough. Like, you should have posted this earlier. So now every time I get a gig, I'm like, okay, I have to time it for this so that it gives him enough time. My sister's like, exactly. And my sister's being like, bro, you haven't been posting. Like, you okay? You good? Like, you need help with anything? I'm like, no, girl, I've just been lazy. I don't want to.
It's the thing.
I really don't even want to open my phone right now.
And mental health is definitely a big thing for me. And as of recently, without getting too deep in the weeds with that, but as of recently, I've been evaluating on where my mental health has been, because access to mental health treatment isn't as readily available as it used to be without insurance, like therapy and, seeing a psychiatrist and making sure my medications are being taken care of and filled and whatnot. And the bills just rack up. They really do. And so for someone like me who has a few mental health things, you call them disabilities and you call them what they want, they really begin to come out. I post too much when my mental health starts going. Oh. I start peacocking real hard, like, I'm fine. Look how cool I am. And then I'm getting text messages on the side, be like, bro, what are you doing?
No, I've been there too, Dev. Like in 2016, I've changed as I used to share. I have a lot of mental clicks too. I do. A lot of tics. But I did used to wear my heart on my sleeve. No one would answer a text message. I would post it on Facebook. Or if I was so quick-mouthed. And I learned over the years that, I Beyonce it.
Let them talk for you.
Let them talk for me, yeah. It's something that I had learned because I used to spiral out, be mad at the world. And I think it had a lot to do with my introduction to Dallas in the beginning because I was this little firecracker ready to just tear the walls down if you didn't do what I wanted you to do.
How does 2024 compare to previous years for y'all? Like, you've mentioned a few different markers and your first coming to Dallas, moving from 2018 for you, Dev, growing up here, your career transitions. Are we doing better? Are we doing
much better?
Out of the pandemic?
A lot better.
COVID?
A lot better. I will say that the more popular you get, the less you can play. It's when it's time for us to get out of the city. And that's where I feel like I'm at. Not saying that I'm like, he's popular, but I can't play it double wide and then play it. I have to wait a certain amount of time to get the reception of money that I want, to get the people that I want to come. So, like, I do appreciate my mid gigs like the Virgin and little things where I can get my performance out. But as far as Desi 5, when I first started as Desi 5, I was performing like 3 times a week, like all over the place, all over the city, just getting myself out there until the point where they were like, you can't play this. And I do miss that. I miss just the whimsicalness of just playing whenever and wherever I wanted to.
Hey, you're in demand.
Yeah.
I think that's important to recognize because at the end of the day, yes, we're working musicians, but we're in this not because we just wanted to make this our 9 to 5. The thing about being a musician, there does come a level, you do have to rely on popularity and numbers in order to make your bread or to get the leg up, to get to the next step. It's very popular based, which is annoying.
So annoying.
It really plays because you're just like, I love a quiet life. I love privacy. But then, but at the same time, it's, I just played 3 gigs this weekend, right? 2 on Saturday. And for me, that's great, but there's something that keeps you stagnant if you do it too much. If you find yourself gigging 3 or 4 or 5 times out of the week, which is great, and there's nothing wrong with it. I want to make that clear.
If it was my music,
it's great. But there is a sense of spreading yourself too thin. And like you want to space out until the next weekend or the next month when you have a legitimate show you want people to go to, but you're playing. And this is the one that like, if people are going to see my art, I want it to be this. But you already played 15 shows for the month and you had to promote those as well. So it's like it's finding that balance of trying to distinguish the work from the art. And that's where I've been lately. It's like, I want to be able to have that mysteriousness of like, what is he doing now? What's that art like? I want to go to that show because he brings, because you play 3 hours and you're going to bring it, right? You always bring it to the gig, but there's something about that short flash in the pan moment on that stage when you got 30, 45, 90 minutes, and you bring guns blazing, you bring your best work, you've practiced every single song, they're all yours. This is what I want you to know me as. It gets real tough whenever you do have to like, oh, but I just played like a handful of gigs the night prior.
I'm learning that formula.
Yeah.
Especially if it's, and I'll find a place like hotels, you do have to promote what you don't. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
captive audience.
Or because I'm a performer before I'm a recording artist or anything. I love to sing. I love to sing Al Green. I love to sing September and stuff like that. So those are the things I can get out and I don't have to promote it. So then when there's like my next Desi show is like December 13th. But I'm working and I'm out here in these streets. But that one that you say, this is the one, this is the art, is December 13th. You know what I mean? And I've been learning how to I've been just Beyonce-ing it. Yeah. It's a little tease here, a little tease there, a little sit back, a little.
It's just saying you say that because I've started to do that as well. No offense to everybody that's been booking shows for me. I will promote if you ask me to. But if I can get away with it, I generally won't mention it just because like you want to promote the art. You want to promote while you're there. And then along the way, it's, oh, yeah, I just saw him at Virgin. You know,
that's why we got to get these venues. I've noticed that there are a lot of venues that do, but a lot of venues don't post our shows enough.
Yeah, I agree.
If they posted our shows, that would be, I'm not saying less, but we could focus on helping to get the people there. But sometimes they have a bigger audience than we do.
A lot more followers.
A lot more followers than we do. So it would go a long way if Double Wide posted like 2 weeks before, not the week of.
Right,
you know,
2 weeks.
Trying to get it to the point where the venue needs to post the event once a week and then twice the week of, and then the day. There needs to be some type of agreement. You can schedule. It's not that hard. I mean, we're on social media playing Candy Crush and stuff. Just there should be, I think that's where we all have to really patent what our expectations are as musicians too. But they need to promote. We need to promote all, you know what I'm saying? It needs to just be a certain type of way that they show a little bit more. We're just like their steak in the kitchen. Sell us.
Yeah, for sure. Because, I've definitely encountered venues that won't even post that we're going to be there. Yeah. And I'm like, oh.
And then they get mad when ain't nobody at the show.
Right. And I told people, but I can't control what people do. If you're not providing the information either, then it's a two-way street, I think.
Yeah. Hell, I'm trying to get the band members to promote the dang show.
Well, that's not even.
That's a whole nother story.
Oh, my Lord.
That's a whole nother story right there.
It's all part of that shared success, that economy that we're talking about at 24 Hour Dallas. We shouldn't just be paying attention to the daytime economy. We should also be paying attention to what happens between 6 p.m.
Keep the beat going. Yeah.
Because it's a large economic driver. We've done impact studies on this, and between culture, tourism, music and art venues, it's a $24 billion industry in Dallas, and $15 billion of that is direct, and then the other $9 billion is basically your wages and what you're putting back into the economy and that supply chain. So anytime somebody says Dallas's nightlife and nighttime economy doesn't matter, you say we're producing $15 billion of direct economic impact.
I think $1 million came from my bar tab once, I'm pretty sure.
Probably mine too.
So now we're going to transition to a short story time. I want y'all to try and think about this in 1 to 2 minutes, and then I have a couple one-off questions for each of you. And so performing, I'm sure, is full of surprises. What is one of the most memorable or unexpected moments that you've experienced performing in Dallas? Oh. That you can share with our...
I'll go. I got to think about this one.
Favorite moment?
Go, Sylvia, ladies first.
Yes, okay. I think
something funny. It could be anything.
Okay. This was at Traders Village. For those of you who don't know, it's a flea market in the DFW area in Grand Prairie. La Pulga, exactly. And shout out to AJ Solis because I cold called him and was like, hey, I have a cumbia band. Do you guys have live music out there? We would love to perform. Literally anything would be great anytime. He's we have the time, you can come. And this was when we were barely starting. So I was like, okay, I need to captivate these people some way or another. I have to make sure they remember us. What I'm known for at Traders Village is for getting on top of the picnic tables and just like dancing on tables and running around and doing all that stuff. So I think that for me was like the most memorable thing of, oh yeah, I can intrude and make this creative space, even though it's like this huge outdoor carnival style place. So for me, that was like my favorite performance.
Very cool.
I want to say 2015. I was going through a huge pop singer phase in Dallas, and I was trying to be like Madonna and Gaga. Everybody needs to be talking about me, whatever. Anyway, the Dallas Observer had their showcase, and they would have all the different musicians at different bars, different times, and we would all perform it. And they had me on a bill with all country bars. I mean, country bands. It was Goodnight Ned, Room Sounds, Madison King.
Wow.
Like, they had me on that bill, and it's me. Now, they don't know really what type of music that I have. I hadn't had any music out.
Sure.
And that room was packed because those guys have followings. So it's my turn to perform. I had blew up these, like, huge, oversized balloons and put lights in them, and I curated my outfit. I got the band. It was just, I live for this, you know what I mean? And I'll never forget that moment of performing, and I just remember seeing all the lights. And the next day, I woke up to seeing the Observer saying that Desi is Dallas's new Prince. And I'm like,
Love that.
that did it for, I vaxxed in that moment. You couldn't tell me nothing.
That's awesome.
That was a
Such
very
a
good
validating
experience.
moment,
Yeah.
For sure. Love that. Bravo. I have, for me, it's tough because there are a lot of glimmers.
So many.
I think the most unique, I'll speak to the most unique for sure. It was when I played an acoustic set. It was 3 or 4 songs, wasn't very long. And I performed with, on stage, part of the bill was We Them Grays. It was me, Elkin Pruitt, and I feel like that was it, but I feel like I might be missing somebody. So if you're watching this, I'm sorry. But it was the Pegasus Contemporary Ballet. They were throwing on an event at the Moody Performance Hall. And part of it, I had 3 or 4 songs, and they wanted me to perform those particular songs live in front of the audience, on stage with them. And then they choreographed an entire piece based off of the 4 songs that we worked together in choosing. And they were all original works. It was called Synergy Dallas. It was to highlight the original works of the Dallas musicians, and they made an entire story based off each act. And so for me, it was really sweet because being in the Moody Performance Hall, it felt magical. I love big rooms where I can just cast my voice to the back and just play off the reverb. One of the things, the reverberation of the room and the acoustics of the room. One of the things I really like to do is pay attention to that and play with the air, if you will, when I start singing. And so being able to have just me and an acoustic guitar and just sing is probably one of the most magical experiences. And then just sitting on the stage and looking over every once in a while and just seeing the dancers just go from one side of the stage to the other, make a whole backdrop. The lighting was beautiful. We did record the first night. And I've always thought about I have the go-ahead. Maybe one day I will. And there's songs that I've never released before. Maybe I should. You should check out my SoundCloud. They call me Lil Wulf.
Drop this.
Just kidding. But yeah, that was mine. Singing for a ballet.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, Desi, you're up next for our first
I already
one
went,
off.
didn't I go?
No, you did your story, but your next one-off question.
Me?
Transition.
Okay.
As both an artist and event producer, how do you balance your creative side with the business and industry expectations and demands?
It's still a struggle every day.
Yeah.
But I just kind of go along with what the day throws at me. I know I wake up every day about 8, and the moment that I wake up, I try not to look at my phone.
Yeah.
But the moment that I look at my phone, it starts, and it never ends until I go to sleep. I just go in wherever it goes. But sometimes I'll have a day, and I'm like, today is Dirty Laundry only. Mm-hmm. Today is Dallas Entertainment only. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or today is bills, like finding gigs. It's just I just take it as it comes. You know, I've always been that way, even in college. I never was that. I'm not trying to sound like I never was a prep person. Sure. I always did my work pretty much the week that it was due. It was always good. It just I've always been when it's like this. Yeah, it's just so that's just how I'm not really good at 100% planning. I go off the grid. Yeah. So I just take it how it comes.
Awesome. And you learn from your experiences, figured out what works for you.
Yeah. In ChatGPT.
You gotta use your resources out there. Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Sylvia, your band is a chance to talk about your band some more and Latin music and cumbia. What is something you wish people knew or better understood about Dallas's Latin music scene, and what has mostly influenced yours and your band's approach?
Yeah, I touched about it in the beginning. I think what I would like to run home is the diversity that is Latin music. And a lot of people think Latin music is just salsa.
Sure.
And I get that a lot when I say, oh yeah, we're a cumbia band. And they're like, oh, like salsa. No, not like salsa. And so then that's where the education piece comes in. And I think that has been the approach ever since then. Ever since the beginning, really, is just make people aware of different genres of music. We were doing rock en español at one point as well. And there's different types of cumbias, different genres, subgenres of cumbias. And you see it all around Dallas as well. Cayuga 214 is a different subgenre of music than Sabor Puro. Gran Reyes is a different subgenre of cumbia than Sabor Puro. Sol de la Cumbia is a different subgenre of cumbia from Sabor Puro.
These are all really cool band names, by the way.
Right?
Oh, and I've seen them all.
And they're all in the DFW area. I think that you have to broaden your horizons when it comes to Latin music and not just label it as one. Cumbia actually is a mixture of two cultures coming together. The slaves from West Africa being brought down to Colombia, the indigenous being turned into slaves. And what do people do when they don't have any other thing to do is create music and express themselves through dance and express themselves through art. And so that's the indigenous and slaves did in Colombia when they were together. They created music with the West African drums and the flute, the gaita, the Colombian flute, and that's what created cumbia. And so the word cumbia is rooted from the West African name cumbre, which is translated to dance music. And down in Colombia, people were dancing and playing cumbre. And so as the generations go down, people move to different countries. People bring it up to Mexico. People take it up to El Salvador. People take it to Guatemala. And it, as the oral tradition goes, things change and it transformed to cumbia. And people started adding their own native instruments to that sound. And so then you have your cumbia from El Salvador, you have your cumbia from Mexico, and Sabor Puro is taking on the Dallas cumbia sound. And so that's what we want to bring out to the world. We want to, you know, put our little stamp of Dallas out there in the cumbia world. And I grew up on cumbia, and that's literally the rhythm of my heart. That's what runs through my veins, and that's what I love to perform. And that has always been the mission, is to educate others through dance and music. And I think that's why I was very drawn to the classroom, because I was able to do that with children from pre-K through 6th grade. And now I get to do it with adults and children of all ages, all colors, all shapes and sizes. And like you were mentioning, the ministry, the worship, the spirituality that comes along with a performance. And that's really what we try to evoke, is that spirituality that is music. And if we take it back to the cumbre, back to Colombia, it most likely was a spiritual thing for them. And being able to continue to honor their legacy and honor the history that brought us dance music and happiness and joyfulness to the world. I want to spread that message.
I think we can all tell you exude that.
Yeah.
In every bit of you. So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that history and perspective. And as Dallas has grown in its cumbia scene, are we up there with Houston, San Antonio, El Paso, the Valley?
I would say so, yes.
Miami.
I think so. I think Dallas definitely has the potential to be right up there as like New York with salsa.
Sure.
Because we are so close to the border, and there are already a lot of great artists who are pushing that sound here in Dallas. And I know that there's a lot of bands who are putting out original music of this sound who are going to be able to reach millions of people around the world. So
awesome.
Yeah. I think Dallas is definitely
I think you're going to be on the cover of the Dallas Entertainment this month. Because it's Dios.
Dia de los Muertos
Yes,
is coming
yes,
up.
yes.
Baby. Come on.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. All right, Dev, your turn. What
Okay.
advice would you give to someone looking to break into the music scene?
I wrote this down because I was like, oh, that's a specific question with specific answers. You know what? Honestly, open mics. I've really found, I've always respected open mics, but it's, yeah, that's where you go. Lately, I've been finding myself at a couple. One venue, Cheapsteaks, has one, but I do have to mention Opening Bell does have an open mic. They got the longest running open mic on Tuesdays, 7 o'clock. Go there. It's a great place to try out new material. It's a great place to try out being on a microphone for the first time. There are other open mics, like the one I tend to frequent lately has been the one at Cheapsteaks. There's 2 of them. Justin Cashian has an open mic jam on Mondays, and then Jamie Vahala has the People's Jam on Tuesdays. And what's great about those is you'll get everybody to come on in, but you'll see just doubt. I don't know. I guess I could say popular Dallas musicians.
Charlie Crockett started at Dallas in jam sessions.
Just at jam sessions. Yeah. You come on through and you'll see a bunch of people from different bands just showing up, and they're either going to hop up on stage or they're just going to hang out. And then everybody can just, oh, you just play guitar? Cool. Here, you want to hop up with this singer. His singer's just, I need a guitar player. Just figure it out. And as long as you're willing to just wing it, play around, that's a great way to start, because now you're networking, and other musicians are like, if you ever want to jam, or hey, I got a show, or if you ever have a show, call me. And so open mics are a great place to start. I'm always going to support that. I'm beginning to support that more and more. It's becoming a piece of who I am. And just, I have a new song and I don't know how it's going to respond to other people, so I'll take it to an open jam and see what happens. And just try it out. If it flops, I'm like, hey, at least I'm in the right place. You know what I mean?
Music is subjective. It's never a flop.
Right.
Exactly. And then from there, you start encouraging, I said that, encouraging work. As I said, I wrote down pointers. And then look for opening slots on show bills. When you're ready to break out of the open mics, I've been doing this for a while. I'm ready to make a next step. Oh, Love Mike. Is it Love Mike Dallas?
It's tonight, too.
That's tonight at Sundown at Granada.
I said I might go.
Janet Wilson.
We're recording this on a Monday, so just to make sure.
Perfect. So
yes.
when you hear this next week, on every Monday.
Every Monday.
But Mondays
Sundown.
and Tuesdays are your open mic nights for a lot of places. But then when you're ready to break out, pick up the phone and book a show.
Pick up your phone.
Yeah. That song, I've been telling people, I'm like, have you heard this freaking song yet? I've been singing it along to it. Bitch, pick up your phone. Can I say that?
I don't know. Can you say that on here?
I don't know, but it's
I have
your
not
song.
cursed once. I say please on KXT.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or when I sing it, if I really want to get on Good Morning Dallas. I've been trying to, and I want to sing it, but I only send them the please pick up your phone versions, because I can't sing bitch pick up your phone on.
I feel like the FCC's kind of been getting a little more lax lately, so I think.
Yeah, they still won't let me say bitch. You know, the funny part about it is, and I'm sorry, but no, this is the funny part. No, hip hop artists can slip in their little curse words. My song has one curse word in it, and that's the word. I just said, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I think it's a more
such a weird semantic.
It's a very weird, and I know I say bitch pretty hard.
It's the power behind it. That
I
really
think that's what it
people.
is. But it's not even supposed to be completely offensive, but it can be. And if you are offended, pick up your phone.
Yeah.
DM Desi.
Dude, yeah, one of the jokes that me and my bandmates made at the very beginning was like, we're for the kids, because I was a teacher, and so everything that I did was like, no guys, we have to make sure that everybody is polished, everybody's good, no cussing, do not drink on stage, like we're a family friendly like band, and
Now
rock and roll, baby. Leave
Now
them
you
kids at
know.
home for me.
we throw them streets at.
Ranges of the spectrum here. For a question about nighttime safety, inclusivity, it goes along these lines, whether it's language or the ambiance that we create amongst our bandmates. Have you all ever felt unsafe while performing, and what actions would you like to see 24-Hour Dallas and our community members take to better prevent unsafe situations?
Oh my gosh, I've been having this conversation a lot lately, especially when you play Deep Ellum all the time. Deep Ellum gets wild on the weekends nowadays. And I know that DPD's been trying to do their thing, and I know they have some ideas. They try to 6th Street it by shutting down Elm and Main and whatnot, but it's not safe for us, whether we're on stage or we're trying to load in or load out. There is a couple venues which I'll go unnamed because they don't deserve the heat. It's not their fault, but you go and you load out at the end of the day and there's into the night, and there's going to be some random car sitting there waiting, and the bouncer's got to play the hero, and it puts a lot of people unsafe, especially when you have to play on Elm Street and they shut down the whole street. It's not even 2 a.m. yet, so they haven't even opened the streets up yet, and you find a way to get to Elm Street by Indiana. And then park your car, and then walk across the street, and then have to load out all your gear, in and out. It's just, I will say this. I think one thing that could be helpful here, and I'll keep this short and sweet because this has been my soapbox lately, so I'll try to chill on it.
We're here for
but
some solutions.
Whether it's the city of Dallas, because I know Deep Ellum is still technically part of downtown in some aspects, like with the parking situation, it's still very much city of Dallas responsibility. But there needs to be something where service industry workers who work around the clock and the musicians who are even there just one night or the whole weekend, we need designated spots where we can load in, load out, and park our cars. And I'm going to go as far to say, cutting us a deal and not charging us for parking. We're working. We are employees of Deep Ellum at that time. Now, that's just one neighborhood, of course, but that's I work there. I have I office out of there during the day as well. And so I'm seeing this around the clock. There is not enough access for service industry and musicians.
I said the same thing.
Yeah.
That's something that's going to be, I mean, we can come together and really try to get some petitions done. But with Dallas and how they are with their property, we can try. The Deep Ellum Foundation, we could mention it to Stephanie. I know that they did give us a couple of little, you said where they put the cones. It's not enough.
Sometimes they can't put the
and then
cones
sometimes,
down.
and then technically they are supposed to. If we really, I might need to add that to the tour, but if you look at the signs, there are signs, and we need to honor those signs that says it's for the musicians.
There are signs.
Yeah, there are like in front of us.
Spots are already full.
And if not, then we need
patrons.
we need to reiterate that or figure out some kind of way. But that is a issue.
One thing I will add to that I just learned recently, I don't know the time frame and I haven't seen it in writing, but I have been told that the parking lot responsibility currently sits with the city of Dallas. Eventually, and I don't know when, it's going to become the responsibility of Deep Ellum, of the Deep Ellum community. Deep Ellum is going, because all that parking money, all the money that people pay for parking, it's all going, the meters and everything, that's the city's making bank off of it.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, from what I've been told, that's going to shift. I don't know how accurate this is, but I've been hearing that pretty soon that's going to be shifting where that money is going to finally go into Deep Ellum, which, oh my God, do we desperately need.
That'd be good.
And I think that's when we can start saying, hey, cut us some slack. Anyways.
It's tough.
My soapbox.
Just
and
think
that's
about
parking. I hadn't even talked about the rest of it.
Yeah. Think about, I lived in New York for, not to break outside of it, but I lived in New York for 4 years as a musician, and I used to always feel bad for like drummers and piano players and stuff. It's like, dude, how are you guys doing it? Most bars in New York, they all have like kits, but they suck.
They're terrible.
They're terrible.
So
it's like, it's a crazy thing. But
or they're electric.
Safety, Deep Ellum we're a big city. Things are going to happen.
We're more than just a neighborhood.
Yeah, we're more, but I don't really feel unsafe, but sometimes you can make the wrong choices and park in wrong places and get your stuff taken. I'm just going to give safety advice. Make sure that you're with your friends. Make sure when when you are taking your gear out, and make sure that you try to have someone with you. I know it's not easy at all times, but at the end of the night, maybe have the bouncer. This is just, I'm trying to think of like different ways, because the night that my things got stolen, I was able to rally about 8 Deep Ellum folks, and we was going around ready. Like we were ready, but
you can't run very fast.
You can't run very fast, and then people are. But as far as the safety is concerned, I think we just have to live right, be right, do right, and have faith and perseverance. Because the moment we step outside of our door, we're unsafe.
Oh,
and just look out for each other.
Yeah. I was going to say that. If you see something, say something.
Yeah.
You see somebody is getting way too drunk, mention that to the bouncer, mention that to the bartender. They need to be cut off because as a performer, I have been grabbed. I have been touched inappropriately because people are just so out of it. But thankfully, I do not drink whenever I am performing, and I do have my full senses on, and I can assess the situation and better place myself in places that I need to be and assess the situation better. But yeah, if you see people getting out of hand, if you see people who are on other substances that shouldn't be there, say something because that does create an unsafe environment. If you see somebody running down the street with a purse that doesn't look like it's theirs, make a report because probably somebody did get jacked. It's one of those things that you have to be accountable for making those reports when people need help.
I do want to add one thing to etiquette, because I think everybody can be responsible for etiquette at least. And that is, that's not your guitar. Please don't touch it.
Those are not your congas.
You cannot pick up the microphone.
There's been a lot of, I think that's one of the things. I think it isn't like a problem. It's a nuisance. And it's just, and you get people who just don't know any better, who are either hammered or they're just, anyway.
Yeah.
I've seen people, I've even had friends who don't know any better say, oh, look, a guitar at someone's set, and they weren't there because they were taking a break. We're about to start. And you will catch me yelling, put it down. That's not yours. Is this an open mic? Someone gets paid to do that, and that is not cheap. That guitar is expensive. Anyway, I'm going to turn into a curmudgeon here. Get me out of this.
And I think also better training for bouncers and just like having actual trained professionals at the door.
You got something in the works for that.
Shout out to Jeremy at Twilight for being such a bomb door guy.
Door security. We love to partner with Deep Ellum Foundation, and we are a citywide nonprofit, but we do work in Deep Ellum. We also do work in Bishop Arts, Lower Greenville. Amazing. So we'd love to do more of that in the future.
Oh, yeah, right on. Right on. I'd love to get you in contact with Deep Ellum. So I work for a nonprofit right now as the web designer for Deep Ellum 100.
Oh, cool.
So, after this, I'd love to definitely get you some information as well.
Perfect. Nice. I'm going to combine these last two questions because we're running out of time here. What's your hope for Dallas in the future? What's your hope for yourself? And how can people follow y'all and support your work? If you want to have any final words or remarks, call to action, now it's the perfect time.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to showcase the diversity of Dallas. There's so much going on culturally. The arts are a big part, like you said, of our economy. Not only music, but art, dance, and visual art is alive and well in this city. And if you have not gone to one of these venues like the Latino Cultural Arts Center or the Winspear Opera House, I encourage you to go out to these places and broaden your horizons, see different acts from different cultures, different part of our community. Sure. Because when you educate yourself in a worldly way, you are able to be more open to loving your neighbor. And I think right now, we need more love and understanding, especially in this political climate that we are in. Whenever you put yourself in other people's shoes, you're able to give them what they need instead of just spewing out whatever you think they need. So yeah, that's my call of action. Really put yourself out there. Do something that you haven't done before. Listen to some music you've never listened to before. And if you've never heard cumbia before, make sure to follow Sabor Puro on all social media platforms. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and X. Sabor Puro Cumbia. That is spelled SABORPUROCUMBIA. Sabor Puro Cumbia. And we will be releasing our first single ever tomorrow, 10/29/24. and it's gonna come
It's
out.
gonna come out at midnight.
It's gonna come out at midnight. So like
Yeah.
literally tonight.
What's the name of the song?
Estrellas Brillantes. So I'm gonna tell y'all a little tiny story behind the name. So when we were working on this project, our producers Spencer Kenny and Ethan Werland, they sent us this track, or I actually heard it for the first time during the summer, and I like heard it. Ethan is singing on it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I don't even need to be on this track. This is y'all. And they're like, no, we need to be together, do it. And so we put the name as Easy, just as a little placeholder, Easy. And so I was presenting it as Easy. Okay, this is our new song, Easy, guys. All right, here we go. And my brother, he was like, Easy? Girl, what? Easy? What is that? What does that mean? What does that have to do with this song? I was like, I don't know. I just feel attached to that name. I don't know. He's like, no, you say Estrellas Brillantes like at least 4 times. Like, you should do that one. That one feels good. Estrellas Brillantes. And so what we did with the spelling of the name, we spelled it E-Z and then instead of the E-S. And then at the end of Brillantes, we also did the E-Z. So it's like easy.
Everything is always
cool.
complete with a Z, baby. You know?
Period. So that's a little insider
cool.
scoop on the name. And we still kept it true to us and kept the Easy in there. A little Easter egg for you to find.
Awesome. You heard it here first.
Yes.
Thank you.
My goal, because I am an artist, but I'm also a producer and a curator of the Dallas Entertainment Awards.
Period.
And my whole goal is to keep musicians in the city, to keep them from wanting to leave, and to make Dallas respect music the way that they respect sports. Respect the way that Nashville treats their musicians. I believe that we need to be treated on that level, and we need to have our own music culture in this city that makes people want to stay and make people want to come here. So that's as far as elevating. Now, on a personal note, musically, I'm Desi 5, been in the game for 10 years, released lots of singles, released EPs, but I'm very proud to say that I'm releasing my first conceptual album. It's called Dirty Laundry, and I'm very excited about it, and it's coming out in November. I'm going to do a release party, the whole shebang, and I just want you guys to follow me and follow the Dirty Laundry journey at Desi5, D-E-Z-I, the number 5.
Congratulations, Desi.
Thank you.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with my music first. And I'll say that you can find me online at Wulf Sounds. I spelled my last name funny, W-U-L-F Sounds. My band is The Midnight Howl. It's got its own designated Instagram as well, at Midnight We Howl. But either one, you can always find me there. I did release a song about a week ago called Guiding Light. The mantra there is, don't you let the darkness steal your guiding light.
Love it.
It was written on a day where I was feeling really depressed, and I had to encourage myself to get out of my own head and get out of my own way. Yes. And so it's a song I really wanted to share that I hope could be at least uplifting to the few that hear it, if only a few. But Wulf Sounds, you can find me on Spotify, Dev Wulf, or The Midnight Howl on Spotify, and anywhere where you listen to music. And yeah, please follow. But I will say the other question is how would you like Dallas nightlife to evolve? Honestly, the best thing I could say, and I think this encapsulates what they were saying, it's support your local musicians. Support your local bands. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to buy their t-shirt. If you don't like the t-shirt, that's fine. Buy a sticker. You can't go to a show, but their new song just dropped. Here's an idea. Put that song on repeat and go to sleep. And do that every night for 5 days. And even if or however long you want, and just let it play.
It goes a long way. It goes a long way.
There is some, because it's strength in numbers. The higher number, where's the numbers game, baby? It doesn't matter how the numbers show up. It's just a numbers game. Support. That's all. That's the biggest thing you can do for us.
Yes, amen.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for being so open.
Thank you
for coming on. It's been great talking to you all. Appreciate everything that you shared. It's been an honor for me to step in here for Ruben. Who wishes he could be here, but we'll get him back and hopefully do another one of these soon. If you have other people that you'd like to send our way,
absolutely,
we'd love to do another one of these. Before we sign off, we'd love to invite our listeners to this year's Unite the Night, a bar hop for a cause, taking place Thursday, November 7th in Deep Ellum from 6 to 10 p.m. We're going to be starting off at Will Call and going to Trinity Cider, Elman Good, Reno's Chop Shop Saloon, and ending at the Dallas Comedy Club. You can register for your tickets now at 24hourdallas.org, and you can also become a member of 24 Hour Dallas on our website for $25 a year for individuals and $100 a year for business owners and operators. Follow our social media at 24 Hour Dallas on Instagram and stay up to date on all of our latest offerings and happenings. Thank you again to our viewers for tuning in today. Stay safe, everyone, and remember, the nighttime is for everyone. Thank you.
Beep, 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 beep.